West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, August 25th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We're going to talk to Brandy Bradley during the 8 o'clock hour. During this hour, we're going to get into the Trump-Rubio halting truck driver visas. This is pretty wild, especially after that last accident. I'm glad they're doing this. But could this have a big impact on the trucking industry here in America? Up to 20% of truck drivers in America are foreign-born. So what is that going to mean for the trucking industry? We'll talk about this hour. 8 o'clock hour, we'll be joined by Brandy Bradley. Give us an update on what's happening at the Colorado State Capitol. And then the FBI being sent down on John Bolton. Is this an effort to clean out the deep state corruption that's taking place, or political power being wielded against a political opponent? So, whole lots to talk about today. Now it's time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good Monday morning. 59 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 73 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, 14 elected officials in Pueblo urging County Coroner Brian Cotter to step down following revelations that bodies were mishandled at a mortuary that he co-owns. Governor Polis also making the call, saying more needs to be done at the legislative level going forward.
I think, frankly, we can agree needs to be reformed after this is the way that you remove a coroner from office that is subject to a criminal investigation, unable to do their job.
In a joint letter, city and county leaders said Cotter's resignation is needed to restore public trust and integrity to the office. CDOT holding a public open house. Did you need something, Jeff?
Oh, no, I was going to agree. Look, I'm not a big government guy, but where we were with funeral homes in Colorado was crazy. Okay, they had like zero oversight. They had there was not much going on there, and then you get all these stories of families getting cement given back to them, and then bodies just thrown in rooms.
The dude in Pueblo.
15 years. Yeah, that's what Blake was talking about.
Part, yeah.
I mean, 15 years. There's a body sitting back there for 15 years.
Right.
Like,
and then
you couldn't cremate
Colorado,
it.
Hundreds.
It became this grift for people to, in the midst of the chaos of losing a family member, and you don't know what to do, and you just call the mortuary, and they take, and there was almost no oversight on these things. Look, I'm not a big government guy, don't like regulations, but when you have abuse after abuse after abuse taking place in this industry, reform the crud out of it.
Absolutely.
In my mind.
Especially that industry.
And the fact that they were just taking advantage of these families, man.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a special place in you-know-where doing that.
Yep.
Unbelievable. CDOT holding a public open house to discuss an upcoming bridge and interchange project. Today's meeting will provide information about plans to replace Spear and 23rd bridges over I-25. The project will also include interchange improvements, including a diverging Diamond Interchange on Spear. The open house is scheduled to begin at 4 o'clock in the afternoon if you want to go to that. A deadly officer-involved shooting is under investigation in Denver. Happened in the 4900 block of East Donald Avenue early Friday morning. A domestic violence call was reported along with shots fired. In the same area, a man ran from the scene when officers arrived, which led to a struggle. Then the man allegedly pulled out a gun. Investigators said the struggle led to an officer firing one shot, causing the man's death. No officers were hurt, and multiple agencies are investigating. National Guard troops in D.C. are now armed. Troops deployed in the nation's capital right now as a part of 47's crackdown on crime, will continue to focus their work on protecting federal assets and providing a safe environment. Meanwhile, DJT is turning his attention to Baltimore, threatening to send troops. The Kremlin is quashing any hope that the war in Ukraine will end anytime soon. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that there is no meeting planned between President Putin and Zelensky. J.D. Vance on the Sunday shows.
We don't think it's in Russia or Ukraine's interest to keep going, so we're going to keep on pushing for a diplomatic solution. And one final point about this, Kristen, if you look historically, whenever you have a complicated war with a lot of death and destruction, it kind of goes in fits and starts. There are hills and valleys to the negotiation. We sometimes feel like we've made great progress with the Russians, and sometimes, as the president has said, he's been very frustrated with the Russians. And we're going to keep on doing what we have to do to bring this thing to a close. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think that we're going to continue to make progress, but ultimately, whether the killing stops, that determination is going to belong to whether the Russians and the Ukrainians can actually find some middle ground here.
Well, Waymo in the Big Apple. There's a noon time protest today over New York City allowing for the testing of self-driving vehicles in Manhattan.
Mayor Eric Adams just signed an executive order allowing Waymo to test autonomous cars in Manhattan and downtown Brooklyn as long as a person remains behind the wheel. While the New York State Federation of Taxi Drivers, as well as several other organizations, spoke out opposing this move, they point to safety reasons and concern it'll lead to a loss of jobs for taxi and rideshare drivers. The Independent Drivers Guild has an online petition calling for officials to halt Waymo's self-driving car testing. Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio, New York.
Yes, 100% those Waymos are coming for your jobs. And I'm sorry, but you're going to lose them. I've ridden in a Waymo. They are awesome. Have you guys?
No, I never have. I don't know about Billy.
Have.
Oh, they're so cool.
Yeah, you are sold on them.
One is the only thing that Jaguar has going for them right now. Is these Waymos. But it's a wild experience. I mean, it literally comes...
It freaks me out.
Right where you are. Not meet over here at this stop or anything. I mean, you could be anywhere, and it'll come right up to you. And then it unlocks the door. You have to enter a little code. Beep, 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 beep. And then the doors unlock, and you get in them. And then you can sit front passenger or in the back, and it's a whole experience.
Have you seen what's going on in Atlanta?
No.
Okay, in Atlanta, people are refusing the human-piloted cars and waiting for Waymos, the robot cars, if given a choice. Now, it's not everybody there, but there is a segment of the ridership. And here's the thing. They've tracked it to where people sometimes will spend up to 60 minutes, an entire hour,
waiting for
refusing. Refuse, checking back in.
You don't want to talk to somebody. You have to smell their
they don't. And the reason I ran across this is because that was one of the hurdles for adoption. It was, will the consumer be okay getting into a vehicle with someone with a robot, with not having another human driving or anything else? Sure. And the counterpoint in this conversation, and the thing that I was reading this weekend, was that, well, at first we told kids not to get in cars with strangers.
Right.
Now we all seem okay with that. So it's going to be okay. Since we broke in that behavior, they thought breaking the behavior of driverless cars would be easier. If they had started out with driverless cars, they said that would be a much larger hurdle. But since we got in the cars with strangers already, and the other one that they're finding is there are certain demographics that are preferring the robot cars. And those are younger riders and female riders.
Ooh,
they're absolutely.
100%.
I believe that.
Yeah, they're preferring
100%.
it. Yep, exactly.
I mean, it is. It's a great experience. We did it. I put all the kids in, and I'm like, let's just go get some ice cream.
Yeah,
Let's just
try
see
it.
what this thing's like. So we go get ice cream, take the Waymo back. Wonderful experience, no problems whatsoever. It's super cool. It's relaxing. Now it goes the speed limit, right?
Funny.
Okay,
So
I gotta talk about that
you're
too.
just going to go the speed limit.
Yes.
And as a result, but as the primary driver, right? I drive the family vacations. I drive to work every day. I pick the kids up from school. I am driving all the time. Oh my goodness, dude. I just kicked back.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I didn't have to talk to, and I don't mind talking to the Uber driver. Look, I'm an outgoing guy, so I can talk. It's no problem. But I've got family members that are introverts. They hate it.
Yeah. In fact, one of the interesting things was that Uber had said recently their automated or robo-taxis are more efficient in 99% of the cases than the human driver. And what they rated it on is number of rides handled per day, which obviously the human will need a break.
Yeah,
where
bathroom,
the robot doesn't.
food.
Yeah. The other thing they're finding, though, is that for us humans, we have drastically underestimated the time that it takes us to get anywhere because we're speeding. that normally because we're in the car and we're speeding, we're like, oh, it only takes me 20 minutes to get there. But if you're driving the speed limit, it takes you 35. And so people are getting into the robo-taxis thinking they're getting there late, not understanding that, no, when you actually follow the rules, you get there a little later.
I did see, though, that what will happen eventually when they're all or a majority of robo cars. Like, so imagine you come to a stoplight and you have 5 cars backed up at a stoplight.
Yeah.
Then the green, car 1 goes, car 2 then goes, car 3 then goes. And so there's a delay because there's a human response. Oh, now the car is gone. Now I can go. What will happen eventually is that car turns green, all will go.
Yeah.
Because they can all program with each other.
That's going to be...
And things traffic will actually reduce.
Here's the crazy part. Okay, now that we're going to go really down this rabbit hole, because again, Bill does this at times, because I find these things and keep pulling these threads. And one of the super smart people that I read said the change in robo-taxis and self-driving cars will be once the cars start to talk to each other. And the reason being is, okay, let's do a little bit of math here, just a little bit of physics as well. When you're driving down the highway and you're like, and all of a sudden you come to you've had to slow down. You're doing 55 or 65 or 75. You've had to slow down 25 miles or more. And you get up there and everybody's all bunched up and then there's no accident, no nothing. And then you're breaking through and you're like, what the hell happened? What happened was someone 5 or 10 minutes earlier slammed on their brakes.
Yes.
Because what happens is if someone's, and just for the sake of argument, if someone's going 55 miles per hour and pushes on their brakes and goes down to 50, the car behind them doesn't have to go to 50. The car behind them has to go to 45. The car behind them has to go, because again, you have to get where you are plus slowing it because the distance you have is shorter. And so every car behind you has to slow down more than that original car. And it creates a series of dominoes to where eventually some cars, if there are enough cars there, the dominoes pack it up to where cars come to a complete stop for no specific traffic reason. Only because the one person 10 minutes ago who's long gone, you can't honk at them, you can't wave the one finger at them, nothing. They're gone, they think that everything's fine, and they've created this traffic jam. Exactly. But if the cars are talking to each other, we all know how to slow down together. So instead of going from 50 to 55, a car might be able to slow down to 53, and then everybody keeps moving.
Right.
That's going to be the thing.
I think the traffic's going to go. And guys, think about this as dads. What's going to end up happening if you don't have to drive and do all the pickup stuff, right? Because it's not some weird creeper picking up your kid to drive around. It's a robot. It's an autonomous robot.
Yep.
So after school sports are going to change. And then, guys, think about this. Think about the burden on your family financially with these cars. You have to pay gas. You have to pay insurance. You have to pay repairs. What if that all goes out the door? Now you only take a car when you need it. It picks you up. It picks your kids up. It's driving them off. You're not having to pay annual insurance dues. You're not having to pay gas every week the way that you currently do with your own car. You only pay it when you. I mean, guys, this is everything's going to change with these autonomous cars.
The really crazy thing is that this scares the car insurance companies to death. The State Farms, the Geicos, the Nationwides, they are scared to death. And in fact, they've been working on this for better than 15 years because they know it's coming, but they know after we all get the robo-taxis or the automatic drivers, we're not going to need insurance. And the other thing we're not going to need, we may have a little bit of it, but we're not going to need it at the level, because if you're in the robo-taxi, there's going to be a level of responsibility the individual person in the car no longer absorbs. So you wouldn't be necessarily responsible for the crash that happens on your way to work. There is going to be some
the company's going to have
shared
to pay.
responsibility.
But then also think about it. There's not going to be as many accidents.
Exactly.
So they can reduce the amount that they actually have to collect.
And size and scale. If they're insuring the company, insurance goes down based on numbers of vehicles you insure. So if I have one vehicle, 5 vehicles, or 3,000, I get a better deal on my insurance if I have the 3,000 vehicles. So again, they know they're going to be making less money. The insurance companies are scared to death of this.
Yeah,
scared to death.
There's no doubt.
There's so many text messages on this. Jason in Denver saying people are going to accept Waymo. Remember, 100 years ago, every elevator had a human operator.
Yeah.
Great point.
Right. Oh, that's a great point.
And then Joan bringing this up. I've told my kids this. I said, you will be the last generation in human history that will learn to drive a car.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's some things with, I have a person in my immediate family that does have a brain injury. And so the idea of letting that individual navigate the rest of their world, because right now this person, it's hard for them to get out of their regular neighborhood because something that is new is hard to absorb, and it's hard for this person to navigate new streets, and getting into a new area becomes very, very difficult and confusing. I also have my mother who's recovering from knee surgery, and she's in her 80s. The idea of her in a robo-taxi is much better than having her get down. I mean, we were talking about she was going down to see some friends the other night, and we were literally discussing where she's going to be able to park the car, because it's going to have to deal with the idea is that it might be on an incline. Is it going to be here? She knows it in one parking lot. It's angled a little bit, and she's like, I'm worried about getting the car door open, and then it will swing back on me while I'm getting out. None of that happens. None of that in the Waymo, because it'd be dropping her off right in front, on the flat street where it would be. She said that would be the easiest thing to do, is just get out of the car right there in front of the location where she was going. That's what the Waymo will allow. It'll allow disabled, and it'll allow the elderly an access and a movement they haven't had. It's going to be amazing if we ever get to this. But it's an if.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Who knew that Hillary Clinton was way ahead of the times? She doesn't know how. She doesn't know how to drive a car, so she was way ahead of all of us.
Joan pointing out in the text messages, look, kids these days don't know how to drive stick shifts. So it's just a progression of that. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's sad though.
It is so sad, and I've told the kids, because there is a visceral connection to understanding what the car does when you learn to drive a manual that you don't have with an automatic.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I pitched every one of my kids so far. I'm like, you understand, manuals are going away. I'll teach you, and you can get them cheap. There have been 2 times with kids in my house where I've like, here's a manual transmission. This car is like $2,500 less than what you get as an automatic. I'm willing to eat the extra cost. Let's go and get it. Let's do that. No, and then by that time it's gone, and they come back months later. Maybe too late now. Too late.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
And I just thought, what happens to cruising? I grew up in Longmont. Main Street was a big deal, man. What if, so we have all these Waymos cruising, and no high school kids will be driving. They'll just be talking to each other.
They're already, they don't go to the mall. They don't really go to the movies.
True.
They
Good
don't all
point.
go hang out somewhere on a Friday night. That's all.
Okay.
That's all old stuff.
Well, since we're just going to do this, we're just going to run around all over the place this morning. Okay. When Billy was younger, back in high school, there are friends of ours that live way out east, and was spending the summer with them, working on the farm. And so it was Friday night, and I'm kind of like, hey, what are you guys going to do? I'm like, oh, we're going to go into town. Okay. And we're going to go cruising. Okay. Which I'm Denver. We can roll. We do a lot of places. This was about 2 blocks of Main Street.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And so
Absolutely.
we would slowly in the car drive down 2 blocks, and then we'd turn around, and then we'd drive back the other 2 blocks. And after we did this twice, I'm like, we keep doing this. Why? Well, until we find someone. Okay. And then eventually we pulled over the side of the road, and we found a parking place, and we got out, and we hung out there, and I'm like, we could have just parked the car and just walked around and oh, well, it's not my town, not my thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, but we had a great time. That was a fun.
Yeah, you have to have at least 50,000 people in the town.
Yes, you do.
Least,
yes,
to make it great.
It was one of those towns where people would give you directions based on the stoplight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was just, the stoplight is?
Stoplight.
Yeah, go to your right. Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, I know where that's at. Yes, that's directions were all based on the stoplight.
We had at least 30, so that made it a
there you
better.
go. Yeah, that's a little better.
Little easier. That is awesome. All right, 57 in Littleton, where they used to cruise also. 56 in Arvada. They used to cruise there as well. And 59 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The Denver forecast on this early Monday, mostly cloudy skies, temperatures right around 60 degrees by daybreak. For the rest of your Monday, showers and thunderstorms likely, cooler today, highs in the low 70s. For tonight, cloudy skies with showers and thunderstorms, low temperatures in the upper 50s. Tuesday, showers and storms once again, highs in the low 70s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Speaking of automation, the trucks may be going this way too. But let's hit the gas on one of today's big stories. Trump and Rubio pulling the plug on work visas for foreign truck drivers. President Trump, alongside Secretary of State Marco Rubio, is doubling down on America First. No apologies. They've slammed the brakes on issuing new worker visas for commercial truck drivers, citing public safety and the need to protect American jobs. The left's crying about supply chain chaos. But let's get real. A 2024 Florida crash, or a 2025, crash involving an illegal immigrant who barely spoke English has left 3 dead after an illegal U-turn blocked the highway. That driver now faces vehicular homicide charges. And you remember here in Colorado, truckers hauling freight on I-70, killing people. The American Truck Association claims a 60,000 driver shortage. And I mean, this would essentially pause 20% of the current workforce that drive trucks are foreign born. But if you remember, this guy that killed 3 couldn't even barely pass the English test afterwards. And if you have folks on the road that can't speak English driving, yes, what Trump and Rubio are doing to address this issue is spot on. Now, Bill, do you see this as a major problem for the trucking industry?
Oh, yeah, I do think it's a problem, but I'm not convinced that this is the right solution, because I think they're targeting the incorrect problem in the chain. The idea that there's always the weakest link in the chain is really the problem. I feel like Rubio and the Trump administration are focusing on the wrong link. And for me, the link in the chain is the CDL license. That's the key. How are these? I don't care if the person has a visa to drive a truck here or to do anything else, because they still have to follow our laws. I remember having a conversation and then a later debate with someone just when NAFTA was coming around. And that was one of the big questions. We had this thing about, oh my God, all these Mexican truckers are going to bring in their big trucks and they're not going to have to follow our... And I did some work and wait, are they going to have to follow our laws, or can they just bring in whatever truck from Mexico? No, they can't just drive a truck from Mexico that would not conform to the American laws. Just like you couldn't bring a car in here. Let's say a car isn't allowed to be imported into the U.S. You couldn't take it to Mexico and then drive it into the U.S. It wouldn't be street legal. And so they said they would have to, and again, all the truck drivers would also, at the time when NAFTA was being ratified, all the truck drivers would have to follow the applicable U.S. laws. The issue being that they would then be able to go back and forth across borders like they did and make it faster and whatever. But that was the idea. What I'm seeing in this is we have truck drivers that don't know the law. That,
correct.
Like the most recent one, the guy not understanding the U-turn. How do you possibly
get a CDL
and not be able to, one, understand what a U-turn is, two, be able to pull it off? That's, for me, what the hell? For me, that's the weak link in the chain, and I'm worried that what's going to happen is that Rubio and the Trump administration come out and they make this big proclamation, say, see, we're fixing it. When it's like, well, it's that pipe over there that's leaking. Why are you coming over here and telling me it's my toilet's problem in my house? I've still got the water leak. I'm not certain that the water leak is going to be repaired based on the plumber Rubio coming in and telling me what the problem is. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, I mean, it's resulted in a loss of life not only in Florida but here in Colorado, where foreign-born truck drivers are killing Americans either because they can't read the signs, they don't know English, or they're ill-equipped and incompetent to be on the roads. And anyone who's ever traveled to a third world country, you see that it's just chaos on the roads. Oftentimes, people just pull U-turns wherever they want.
Yes.
They don't really follow the rules or laws like they do here. So
sometimes there's even questions on, is that really street legal?
Right.
Where are all the tires? Yeah, there's some real questions.
So that happens in third world countries. They come to America, and Bill, to your point, somehow they're getting through the CDL licensing, which that should be a barrier, right? That license right there should require you. I mean, it's amazing to me that in America, that you would be able to get through not knowing what these signs mean and get a commercial driver's license. So obviously there's a problem there. Trump and Rubio pausing at least till September 30th of 2025 visas to allow foreign-born CDL truck drivers to come to this country and work. Do you agree with it? Let's go to the phone lines. Dwayne Devine. Good morning, Dwayne. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Something that people need to know with the CDL is that I could not buy recreational weed and use my license. I would be flagged immediately. Yes, I would be flagged immediately. So that automatically says, well, if he's buying it, he's probably using it. And someone had used a CBD oil that I know, came out with 0.003 cannabinoids or whatever it is. They had to bring the owner of the company out by plane, because it's in California. They had to fly out, pick her up and the truck, and drive it out of California all the way back to the home office up in South Dakota, just because of 0.003 cannabinoids or whatever it is. There's no, it's like people don't realize what it is. It's 0.08 for the DUI, 0.04. You don't even get near alcohol if you've got a CDL, because you've earned it. It makes you a lot of money, and it is what it is. I have to drive a 35-foot trailer here over the summer, and the truck I drive and everything else, we're not for hire. But if I was for hire, then the rules even become far more. restrictive on how many hours I can drive, what I can have in the car, everything else. A CDL is not just, oh, look, I can drive anything. I'm qualified to drive anything from a Peterbilt all the way out to something out at the airport. And that's, through the levels of everything I've done. As far as self-driving cars, it's never going to happen because the transponders aren't out here on country roads. So you folks in the city may have it, but there's no way on my 3 miles of dirt road before you come out to the compound am I going to have a Waymo trying to find out where the hell I am. So that's going to be an interesting point as well.
Yeah, I think that I live out in a rural dirt road as well. That'll be the last place that I think the Waymos end up. But for Highlands Ranch, suburban families, 100%. I think they'll take advantage of this. It's going to make their lives a lot easier. Appreciate the call, Dwayne. Thanks so much. Dwayne's line is open, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Those CDLs are valuable.
Yeah, they are.
But as we've seen with the E-Verify, people found ways to get through this stuff. And with every industry, I mean, look at the funeral industry.
Oh,
we're talking about. People find ways to make money and bypass requirements, all that stuff. I think that's what we're seeing with CDLs. So for Trump to at least pause this, figure out what's going on, and make our roads, highways safer from people who can't even understand the signs when they're out there driving, it needs to be addressed. It's resulted in the death of people here in our own state. I'm glad Trump's doing it. We'll get to the rest of your phone calls. But, hey, summer is a time to look and feel your best. But I'm not talking about your abs or tan, guys. I'm talking about your hair. Restore that bald spot, reverse your receding hairline, or add volume to thinning during Advanced Hair's once yearly summer savings event. Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and they guarantee your new hair will grow. There's absolutely no one I trust more than Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar. Advanced Hair's summer sales event is on for a limited time, so get the details and schedule your free consultation today. Here's their phone number, 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results with Advanced Hair. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Check out the incredible before and afters and take advantage of their best offer ever. 720-459-HAIR, advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com will continue. Phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. President Trump, Marco Rubio pausing the visas for people that want to come to America to be a commercial truck driver. Is this the right move after 3 people died during an illegal U-turn that took place just about 2 weeks ago now? It was down in Florida, and it was an Indian national undocumented immigrant who allegedly caused 3 deaths due to an illegal U-turn. Couldn't pass the English test that was given on the roadside after the crash. Now, here in Colorado, you had the crash on I-70, where the guy was originally sentenced to like 100 years. He was here legally, but English was his second language. He was from Cuba. Then you had the crash on 285, where that guy was here illegally, and he's now been detained by ICE and deported. That took place in 2024, about a year ago now. So is it right for the Trump administration to step in and go, we're pausing this, no more work visas, CDLs, we're going to figure this out, we're going to get clarity on how these guys are even getting their CDLs if they can't read the signs in English? And we have people's lives at stake here. What do you think? Let's go to the phone lines. Pete, Centennial. Good morning, Pete. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, you guys. It's a treat to be able to talk on the most interesting Denver radio station.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I left a teaching career in 1998 to go earn money, and I started driving a semi over the road. And I retired just a few years ago, but you can imagine how much experience one would have over, 20 years. And I've driven in every state, of course, but Hawaii. And I never went up to Alaska, and I drove up but I did drive up in Canada. I've done an awful lot of work on the border, but it's easy to get in the weeds because it's a very complicated, it's a huge, huge subject. And trucking, I think, is America's largest employer industry-wise. But to give you some perspective, down on Interstate 5 in California, just south of Stockton, there's a section there that and now, I've only seen the pictures. I haven't extensively studied this, but I think that the driver was Sikh. And I mentioned Stockton and Interstate 5. There's a section down there in California that is predominantly a Sikh community, and the Sikhs are extremely established. Since I started driving, as a trucking community, very dominant, and they're very dominant in California. I think one of the key things to recognize here in the trucking industry is, we talk about all these different regulations and everything, and I did teach at a trucking school, helping people get certified. So I've had that experience too, with all the legal aspects to it. But there are, if I recall from the news reports, both Washington and California, ones who issued him the CDL license. And I mentioned cultural. There are sections in this country you can drive, and for 100 miles, you can stop in every business along the way, and you will feel like you're in a foreign country. And there are many, many times I've been down along the border, truck stops and businesses that I go to, nobody speaks English. So we know that there's all kinds of, it's the Federal Motor Carrier Safety regulates this federally, but there has to be all kinds of leniencies given within regions. And again, the Sikhs are predominantly in California as a community and up in Washington, and those states the state is the one who issues the CDL.
Now, Pete, I got a question for you. One of the things we're talking there is kind of the interpretation of our road rules, our laws, and our languages. One of the things we've discussed here is the understanding of operational English. Now, again, on your experience, it's kind of three different levels. One, I'm looking for, does the driver, what level, would you rate them if they can't speak English, but they can see and understand our road signs, which I'm assuming you'd have to do in order to pass the CDL, versus the idea of someone that is being conversational or somewhat fluent in English. And what I'm going back to is the guy that we had most recently who killed the people based on the U-turn he was doing in the truck couldn't pass the English test by the side of the road. But in your experience, does that mean that he then might not have been able to pass the CDL portion of the test? I mean, what do you think? What's your experience?
Well, essentially, what I'm driving at is that California, somewhere along the line, some official has to have allowed some type of leniency, allowing this person to drive. And earlier, what you were talking about, NAFTA, I started driving right after NAFTA was implemented, and the allowance for trucks coming into the United States was hugely liberalized from the trucks originating in Mexico. And the limitation they had was they could make a delivery within the United States, the destination of their freight, but they had to immediately return to Mexico. But I bring up the cultural thing again, and I think that's the thing to stress, is culturally, there are sections in this country where even just the cultural norms of our society aren't understood and aren't followed. And that person who made that up in Florida, it was just a boneheaded. It wouldn't have mattered if it was an illegal turn. The way he operated the vehicle it was as though he didn't understand the road he was on. And according to news reports, he was pulled over in New Mexico, and New Mexico is one of the most liberal states also. But they are regulated federally. But he didn't even pass the roadside inspection. Roadside inspections are very common, and every single time you cross a state line, you are subject to roadside inspections. Every single time you go through a way station, you are subject to roadside inspections. Every single time you are observed by a highway patrol, you are subject to roadside inspections. But if there is a breakdown within the system where the system is being culturally interpreted and leniency is being granted, and you get along the border, and unless you've spent a lot of time on the border, you don't really understand that you're walking into a totally different cultural interpretation and legal interpretation of what America is all about.
Yeah, Pete, Centennial, great call. I love the experience of our listeners who spent decades, like he mentioned, driving trucks, training, giving us a call to give us insight. It's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Text message is great on this, too. How can they read warning signs on message boards? The answer is they can't. Others saying we need to be prosecuting whatever CDL training school approved this guy. I agree with that as well. And I agree with President Trump Marco Rubio, saying we're going to pause some of these visas. We got to figure out this problem. You not only have dead people in Florida as a result of this, you have people right here in Colorado, our own neighbors, that died because of these foreign-born CDL drivers. Questions as to whether or not they were properly trained. Could they understand the signs? Let's get a hold of this issue. Let's get crystal clear. Our own family members' lives are at stake based upon this. All right, join the conversation. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, August 27th. Join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 1595 South Colorado Boulevard in Denver. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, August 27th at IHOP.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Trump and Rubio pulling the plug on work visas for foreign truck drivers. Is this a doubling down on America First policies, or is this going to result in supply chain chaos? What do you think? Let's go to the phone lines. Mary, Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. I had a CDL. I did that when I worked wildfires. In case there was a blowover, I had to be able to move the equipment. We had eight trucks and eight trailers. You have a show, and towards midnight, that's a trucker show, and it's the truckers calling in discussing a number of things, and especially this issue was one of them that they have been on. Were you aware that this truck driver was pulled over in New Mexico and could not speak to the state patrol person, and the guy let him go?
Yeah, I'd seen that.
Okay. And one of the things is that that state patrolman could have stopped him because he could not communicate in English. They could have stopped it right there and had the truck impounded. That's one of the things you're talking about, what Trump is doing about stopping. But what about all those that have licenses, commercial licenses right now? One of the ways to be able to stop that is if they are pulled over and they can't speak English, then that they could be stopped right then.
I got a larger question, though, in this, Mary, is that, again, it seems like we are focusing not on the weakest link. And what I mean by that is we're saying that once these drivers are on the streets, we are waiting for law enforcement to contact them and then realize they should not be there. However, my understanding is this guy that was illegal had obtained a CDL. So at some point,
truck driving school.
So again, at some point or another, he was able to navigate the system well enough, despite not being conversationally fluent in English, in order to get that CDL. To me, that's the weak link. Because the issue is that I don't want a system in which we understand that some of these people that are getting these CDL licenses, or a portion, whatever it is, are getting out on the roads, and hopefully we're going to catch them. For me, the place to catch them is in the licensing process. And that's what I'm worried about, is we seem to be focused on the wrong thing.
You have a truck driving school that's earning money. And a lot of that is federal money because they get, what do you call it? Not a
Subsidies?
grant. You know what I mean? Yes, they're able to get a government grant that pays for the schooling. And so my point is that, in other words, you're right. It should be the truck driving school, and I'm hoping that the family that was killed, that's one of the people that they go ahead and sue too. They should be included.
Because my understanding is that the truck driving school
is authorized to do the driving test
but they have to
do the training.
I know, but they can do the testing, but it has to be, my understanding is, by a third party, and that testing organization has to be certified by the state. In fact, here, Mary, hang on a sec. We'll bring you back. Hang on a sec. We'll bring you back in a sec. Yeah.
Well, I have a question for Mary, too. Is she a spy? Because she's done everything. She's like a Jason Bourne, is Mary from Wyoming. It doesn't surprise me. She was a truck driver. Well, we'll continue the conversation. Plus, Brandy Bradley's going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.